Welcome everybody, Shifu of the cards. This is going to be an awesome video. I've done a lot of decks, I've done a lot of videos for Kung Fu Panda Battle of Destiny. I've come a long way with the layout, with thumbnails, all these different things that I'm learning on the fly. Pretty proud of my YouTube page. My YouTube page is Shifu of the Cards. I'm sure you're watching it, I guess because you're seeing it now. Today's going to be a huge day. This video is how to make a deck in Kung Fu Panda. How do you make decks? What goes into them? What are the hot cards? What are the more powerful cards? What do you do? How do you construct it? What do you look for? All these questions I hope to answer. I think this is going to be the definitive tutorial video for the game because I'm going to look at it and talk about all the cards that are out now. And this is as of May, so we had a few expansions in there, and they're really awesome. And what Ludia does with Kung Fu Panda Battle of Destiny is every month they give you about 5 or 6 cards, new cards added to the set, one legendary, some epic, some rare, some common sometimes, and some a mishmash of that, and it changes the meta a little bit. The internet connection fails. It's kind of a bummer. But what do you do? How do you build a deck? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at that. First thing you do is you open the game. See, it's all part of a plan. All part of a plan, and you get your quests, and then you go to your collection, and this is where all your cards are. And what I've done is I've constructed a theme deck with Shen. I've done 2 videos in the last couple days on Shen. So what I did was I made a Weapons of War equipment themed Shen deck. So how do you do that? How do you build a deck? Where do you start? Well, a good place to start is at the low cost chi end of the spectrum. Try to get some low-cost minions in there that blend in with the theme. And this theme, for example, for this Shen deck, is equipment. And all the cards either deal with equipment or help the cards with equipment or just good solid cards. For example, you can search for equipment is one way to do it if you're looking to build an equipment deck. And it'll give you, and apply it, it'll give you all the cards with equipment on them, and you can build a deck that way. It doesn't show you the cards that come with equipment, which is unfortunate, but let's try a filter. Let's try just equip. Let's just take a smaller portion of the word and let's see if it gives us cards that have equipment. Okay, and it does. So you want to search for cards with equip in it, and what that does is it shows you anything that you can get with equipment or that helps equipment, that takes away equipment, that deals with equipment in any way. So when you try to build a theme deck, you want to have a centralized focus. So you see a lot of cards that give equipment or have equipment or deal damage to things with equipment or in some way take away equipment. And that's how you start with a theme. Shen, if you look and we go back to his filter, we take his filter off, we clear it, and we apply. Shen has a lot of cards in his base set, which is what's up here, that deal with equipment. For example, Confident Contractor gets an equipment from the armory. Sharp Resolve, give warrior +1 strength for each equipment you have. Trick, when your opponent plays on your trick, Flashy Disruption, excuse me, when your opponent plays an equipment card. So you start to see that there's a focus with Shen cards on equipment. So that's your first that's your first clue that could be something that you can utilize. Pack Messenger, he plays a scroll, but this is one of the big ones. This is one of the ones that are not so obvious, and I've got to go back in, sorry, and get it. There's cards that deal with equipment directly, and then there are cards that can be indirectly buffed by equipment. And what I mean by that is like cards like Candy K9. Let me get it this way. Alright? Gave +1 health for each card in your hand. Now how does that indirectly apply to equipment? Well, an equipment card goes to your hand, which builds your hand size, which then pumps up Candid K9. So if we go a little earlier, this pig, Confident Contractor, is in your hand. When he goes onto the board, he gives you early presence, and when he dies, he gives you, or his farewell, he gives you an equipment card, which gives you a card to your hand, which would then buff up your Candid K9. One of my favorite things to do in a Shen deck early on when I first started playing was Candid K9 with equipment, because it just gave you cards in your hand, equipment with the Confident Contractor. So you get that. You start to see that there's a lot of synergy. Draw it out. Draw a card for each equip-friendly warrior when equipment is in play. Gain +1/+1. You get the idea. Equip a warrior. Gain 2 health for each equipment. Okay, so you start to see, alright, Shen, you could probably build a Shen equipment deck. So that's where you start. Now, how do you do it? Okay, there's all these cards with equipment. What's good? What's not good? What's viable? Now, right now in the current meta, a lot of decks, lower end decks, which are going to be from rank 25 to right around 10 or 9, they're not going to use equipment as a focus. They're just going to be straight go to face or maybe some elements of control. And if you're not familiar with those terms, I have a tutorial on them, but just real quick and briefly. Face decks are ones that just attack you every time. Go, 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 go. You know, try to take you out as fast as possible. Control decks try to have creatures on the board and put them in guard and kind of slowly grind you down. An equipment deck is more of a control-y deck just because it's slow. So you can be fast with it, but it's generally slower because you're playing minions, then you're putting equipment on them. So it takes a couple of turns or later in the game to do like a 4-cost minion with a 3-cost equipment or 2-cost equipment. So by nature, it's going to be a slower deck. So you've got to think about that. It's not going to be a fast deck. So where do you go? What I like to do in building a deck is I like to go to the base cards. So right off the bat, Confident Contractor, excuse me, is a 2-cost 2/3. I like all my cards to have at least 3 health. It makes them able to withstand a direct attack from the enemy warrior master, which means you can't just easily clear out something and clear out whatever is protecting it. So it ends up being an effective taunt. So Confident Contractor in almost every Shen deck you're ever going to see is a must-have, and it comes with the set. Win-win. So Confident Contractor does 2 things. 1, it is early game, so it can test the board. 2, it has a 3 health pool, which means it can stay on the board for a little bit, at least 1 turn generally, or do some damage. And 3, it gives you an equipment, and 4, it not only does give you equipment, but it helps pump up the Candid Canine, which is an essential cog in this deck. So right there's your 2 Confident Contractors. Got to have them. And then at that point, you got to make some decisions, because the 2-cost minions in this game are kind of, most of them are low on health. So you're going to be slow. So you don't want to have low on health. You want to have high on health and try to withstand the early rush. So we look at 2-cost minions, or 1 or 0 cost. 0-cost minions, 0, 2, 0, 3. The 0/3, okay, great. You know, good health pool, but he can't guard, so automatically he loses the purpose for me. Burly Ox is a solid 1/3 card, and if you don't have some of these other cards, it's a good option for early defense, and very common in most decks early on before you get other cards to replace them. Now this card I put in my deck because he steals equipment, and he has synergy. And what synergy means is it works well with other cards in the deck. So, for example, she has an equipment theme. I love this card, and steals an equipment. Now, I synergize this card with this card that I've never seen anyone use but me, and some Switch people have. I just haven't seen it. Attack. Select an equipped friendly warrior and deal a strength as damage to 2 random enemy warriors. So, for example, at 5 cost, you could do you steal an equipment with her. Usually it's at least +2 strength, sometimes +3, but let's say +2. So for 5 mana, you get a 4/2, but usually they add strength, so you get a 4/3 that does 4 damage to 2 distinct enemy minions. So it's a really good board clear, and it's really nasty. Attack is one of the cards I really love with Shen that I don't see many people utilize, and it's phenomenal, especially in an equipment-based deck. All right, so I'm trying to go through the lower cost minions. So I'm a Happy Hippo, 2 low health. A Mudslinger, 2 low health. Poultry Paramedic, Potbelly Bully, all of them, none of them have at least 3 health. This one does, but not a lot of people play tricks. If tricks become a thing, and I think with expansions they probably will be, this becomes a much better option. This is a great one for equipment because it deals with gain +2 strength if you equip warrior. But what happens on ladder is a lot of people don't have an equipped warrior, so it's not going to use it too much. And I try to be more controlling, which I put in later on. You'll see in my deck. So we'll stay there in the 2 1s and 2s. Now, of course, you know you've seen my videos, and if you haven't, welcome. If you have, you know that I'm, of course, going to have Bunny Bowman. Once Proud, still a great rabbit, great card. Does 2 damage, contests a lot of early stuff, contests a lot of late stuff, just a great card. There's a Confident Contractor at 2. And now this card is phenomenal at 2 cost. Feathered Fury, gain 3 strength and tackle. What that means is he's going to do 5 basically and clear out anything. Amazing for mid to late game. Do not use it to attack the enemy master. You're wasting a valuable card. Use it to clear out a nasty minion. Like imagine a 4/5 kelp. You see a lot of these on ladder. The 4/5 kelp thing. I can't remember the name. Kelp catcher. It clears it out and done. Get rid of it. And because that's a nasty card. So we go back. And then, of course, if you've known me, you know that I do control decks a lot. And I'm going to have 2 Hungry Hogs. Now, this could vary value. I call it my pork plate combo, pork plate platter trademark. Basically, the Hungry Hog works in synergy with the Allergist, as you all know from watching my videos. Allergist Hungry Hog is my claim to fame, my combo. What I have in almost every one of my decks. It's just so well, and Hungry Hog works with other cards as well, but really well with the Allergist. And then I put in 2 Proud Brewers because it gives +1/+1, which is really nice. But you'll see later on in this deck, I want a blank palette to put weapons on because I have some creatures that put weapons on other creatures, and it works really well for that. So it's a blank palette and a buff, so it does 2 different things. And I have a Cottontail Cook, and I have 2 of them. The reason being is he comes in with equipment, and he pairs off real well with parry. So it could be a quick little 4 damage, 3 damage knockoff to 2 people. So I like that. Candy Canine is the blank canvas upon which equipment can be placed along with the Proud Brewer. You want to be careful. You don't want to put every creature with equipment on it because then what are you putting equipment on? Of course, you could obviously take equipment changed off, but I like having blank canvases that also buff to put equipment on. Dutiful Dragon. Oh, God, talk about synergy so much. How do you get equipment? You go to the armory. When you go to the armory to get equipment, which adds to your hand, which will pump up Candy Canine, it'll give you equipment which you can use. Dutiful Dragon deals 3 damage to a mana enemy warrior. So you're getting the equipment you already want, and you're doing damage to the opponent. Win, double win. One of the greatest cards in the game for an equipment deck. And synergizes just beautifully, and has a really high health pool. Fire Breather. You can get away with one of those. Matter of fact, I think I am gonna get away with one of those because I have a lot of 4 drops, and I'm just gonna put. But it is just such a good clear, and it synergizes because it has equipment. So we may look back on that, and I'll show you where to look back once you built it. So you want to start building low to high, and you want to try to see good drops in between. And as you see, I have a lot of 4s, and I can trim that down. And if I would trim one, it'd be Fire Breather. Pack Protector. When I'm building an equipment deck, I have a card that benefits from equipment. You got to have 2 of those. Beautiful card. So dangerous early to late game. It's such a strong card. Fire Emblem. They've nerfed it, but that's like in equipment. Number 1, it is I'm in trouble. Let me clear the board and make everything neutral. That alone is beautiful in of itself. The added bonus here is all your creatures are going to have equipment, or most of them are going to have equipment, which means they're not going to be a 1/1. They're going to be like a 3/2 or 3/3 or whatever the equipment bonus is, because it's a 1/1, but the equipment stays the stats it has. So if you have a 1/1 equipment on a 5/5 and this hits it, it comes down to 1/1 creature, but still +1/+1 with the equipment, so it's a 2/2. So it nukes everybody that doesn't have equipment down to 1/1. Those with equipment are still stronger. So it's a double bonus for your deck. Jinhu. Equip the Iron Fist of Justice. Equips equipment card to one of your creatures. Self-explanatory. The blank canvas talked about with the Proud Brewer or the Candid Canine or Dutiful Dragon or Fire Breather. It gives them an equipment to then hit with, which is really good. Master Flying Rhino, he brings an equipment. Big Boss. I love this card, and I have him in a lot of my equipment decks, and all my equipment decks. I don't see many people using Big Boss. He's a stun, and he steals equipment. I mean, it's a win. Master Croc. It's immune to equipment and does farewell damage. Synergizes with the anti-equipment and with the fire breather. So you have two kind of nuke bombs in your deck. And Weapon Caddy, it steals an equipment like Big Boss, synergizes with that, and you draw a card from the armory, which then would activate Dutiful Dragon. So every card in here, there's no card, with the exception of Bunny Bowman, every card synergizes with a deck. And Bunny Bowman is just my baby, really. And it's just a really good board clear, honestly. So everything synergizes with everything else. Equipment base, pumpable base, healing base, everything goes together beautifully. It's a synergistic deck. And I call it Weapons of War because it's an equipment-based Shen deck. So let's see it in action. And but every one of my decks, because we're doing a tutorial on deck crafting, every one of my decks is the same. I had started out. Oh, I want to show one thing. Almost forgot. Once you build a deck, a good idea to see how it works or how it's going to work is to hit the button, the actual character button, and what it gives you is cards to cheat cost. And you don't want to have too much over 5, 6, and 7. I have a lot at 4, 3, and 2, so it's not bad. I have everything kind of low cost to mid cost. You want to have some high cost cards because you want to have the ability to finish an opponent. You can't have too many low cost because then you are in trouble. So you look at the card cheat cost, and you want to have everything under. You want to have most of everything under 4 and lower, and then some things over 5, 6, 7. But everything kind of 4 and lower, but solid. So this is a pretty good little cheat cost breakdown, actually. Just click on them again. Now, if I wanted to, I could take out the fire breather and maybe put a higher cost card in there. Probably put another legendary in there, or maybe another weapon caddy. But then you run the risk of having too many 5, 6, and 7s you see on the screen. Low cost, I'm pretty happy with that. Maybe put a feline flutist in there. Would not be too bad. Early game. We go with the health. I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to do feline flutist instead of make it just, it's 1 better, but it's 1 lower cheat cost, but gives us some health. And it's a good 2/5, good 2/5 menu. So we're going to save that, and we're going to go play and see what we can come up with. And well, no.